So, man, glad you could join us today, man. I appreciate you doing another interview with me on the
Got it.
Big Time Bullies platform. For those that don't know you, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Well, my name is Raul Fagundes. I'm the owner, operator, everything you want to call for Qbn Kennels. And it's not just me, it's a team that we have here between my wife and my daughter and myself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I know we spoke before and we did an interview before, but it was, a shorter interview. I think I dropped two videos off of that the last time we met up. But I just wanted to recap a little bit for people that didn't see that, and also people that maybe haven't seen your videos. Just let people know how you got started. You got started with bulldogs. Were you breeding bulldogs before?
Yeah. Let me see. We're in 2022. So back around 2010-ish, I got my first Old English Bulldog. All right. And I got my first pair. And they grew up, and I was able to breed them one time. And I soon realized that breeding Old English Bulldogs could be very expensive, and not just that. Um, you were actually breeding a breed that nowadays, with the experience I've got, uh, is not something that, in my opinion, was meant to be bred, just because of all the health issues, the skin issues. When you look at the history on how that breed was made, how they were able to get there, they just kept inbreeding mastiffs over and over and over and over again until the dog was getting smaller and smaller. The tail was disappearing. I mean, there's a lot behind it. But long story short, after that first breeding, I was pretty much done with that.
Yeah. So, do you remember the first American Bully you seen?
Yeah, I don't know the name of him. I have a picture of him somewhere in my phone, man. My phone is nothing more than a safe for dog pictures. But
Right.
I remember the first bully I saw. He really impressed me then. It's funny how time and perspective changes with
Right.
time, because I see him now and it's like, man. But back then it was just phenomenal.
And so, was it like a breeder or just somebody you seen just had the dog?
No, it was just a dog that appeared on my Instagram feed, and or I don't know if they call it feed or news, whatever. I was
Right.
flipping it, I seen it, I took a screenshot of it. I thought the dog looked phenomenal. It was impressive. That's what triggered me, because I started looking for other different breeds, right?
Mhm.
Like, okay, I don't want to breed OEMs, I mean OEBs, but I still wanted to breed because I felt that I could bring a lot into breeding. A little background about me is, I'm a nurse,
Right.
and I feel that is somewhat related, in the sense that mammals, for the most part, even though they're different, we're two-legged, dogs are four-legged. There's a lot of things that coincide, and so I felt that I could bring a lot, especially on the genetic side of the house. And so when I saw that dog, it impressed me, and it triggered me to want to, find out more.
Nice, nice. And so, at that point, when you seen that dog, that's when you decided, like, this is the kind of dog I want to breed.
Uh, Not immediately, man. I mean, everybody's different. I'm not that type of person that just sees something that's flashy and I'm going to jump right in. Uh, you know, Fool's Gold can do that for you. And
Right.
so I just, it piqued my interest and I wanted to find out more and more about the breed. At that time, and I want to say circa 2011 ish, at that time, there was not too many people putting videos on YouTube or anything like that. The few that were was usually, uh, it was rare when I saw them, and they were usually trying to sell something, sell a puppy or whatever.
Right.
With time after that, I remember seeing a video of Carolina bully farms,
Mhm.
and they were saying that they had bullies. But in my mind, I didn't know at the time that bullies have different classifications. So the dog I had seen was an Excel. So when they were saying that they had bullies, I was just, I was like, oh, okay, so they have the smaller bullies, I guess. But I started learning a little bit more through them. They were a little bit more educational. They still try to sell to you, but they were a little bit more educational. And that was piquing my interest a little bit.
Oh, okay, okay. So I mean, so from that point on, what'd you do? You started researching?
I started researching, man, because I don't know it. At the time, I didn't know anybody that owned a bully. Also, at that time, I was in Miami, Florida, and I will tell you this: Dade County has a ban on pit bulls, right? It's been there forever and a day. So if you have an XL American Bully today, people are going to come knock on your door for you to prove that they're not pit bulls, but that they're bullies. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So people kind of don't have XLs in Miami. Not only that, not too many people have large yards. So no one there had an American Bully like what I thought or what I had seen.
Right.
So I started trying to conversate. I would go to dog shows, by the way. There was a dog show down at the Youth County Fairgrounds in Tropical Park in Miami. And I remember going to a couple of dog shows there, but their shows were AKC sanctioned. Whenever I would bring up this dog that I would show them or whatever, it was always the same ignorant response. Oh, those dogs, that breed has to be put down. There's nothing but aggressive monsters that'll tear your leg off, blah, blah, blah. Even though I didn't know the breed, I could decipher that people were just shooting from the hip. They really didn't even know a lot about the breed, but they just wanted to say something. Because they weren't breeding it, they were breeding poodles or whatever the heck they were breeding. They would just say whatever to kind of dissuade you from heading in that direction.
Yeah.
With time, I remember one time I did drive all the way up to Kansas. There was an older old English Bulldog breeder there, and I had some friends heading in that direction. And I said, let me go over there and talk to this guy because he's very knowledgeable, not just of Old English Bulldogs. He knew a little bit of everything. So when I got there and I showed him, immediately when I showed him the picture on the phone, he's like, yeah, that's an American Bully. That's a new breed though. And it's, he also didn't have the best things to say. Because obviously they're prejudiced, they're subjective. It's about Old English Bulldogs with him. Nothing compares to that for him. And I took that, but the mere fact that he said they are American Bullies, cha-ching, now I have a name. Now I started researching more because up to that point I kept looking up like muscular pit bulls and things like that. The internet and YouTube was not what it is right now.
Yes.
There was a lot less content on this breed then. And then I came across the ABKC. Once I saw that this was the registry that sanctioned these dogs, then, I was looking more and more into it. The first blood or yard, better yet, or blood that I saw was Ick. Okay. Iron Cross out in California. And I remember the picture I had taken of that original dog, and yeah, these look similar, but I quickly picked up on things that I just didn't like when I saw it. Nobody told me at the time what East-West was, but for me, I don't know. I just
didn't look right.
The way the feet would loop out, they were hyped up at the time, and there was not too many. They had a website I went to and I checked them out and all that, but I was always in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, y'all all right, but I want to see that dog I seen in my picture. And that dog kept me, researching and looking. And to this day, I haven't been able to find what yard produced that dog. I think I never will, because keep in mind, it's a picture back from 2010, 2011. So who knows if that dog's even around nowadays, but that's how I really got started.
So you were never a pit bull guy?
No, never was. I'm not a terrier guy. I've owned terriers. In fact, I own a Yorkie right now. I don't like dogs that immediately react to things. I like dogs, and I think that's why I started breeding out Old English Bulldogs. I like dogs that kind of watch what's happening, take it in, and then give a reaction. In fact, I like it better when they take it in, look at me to see if it's a yay or a nay, and then go and react. And so, yeah, pit was never a thing for me. Yeah, I will tell you this, man. looking at the breed and knowing that it started new, I knew that it was going to be mixed with a lot of different things. Some people will sit here, you'll have a purist,
Yeah.
that's talking about, the original American Bully was a Staffy and a pit. Yeah. Well, the American Bully right now doesn't look like a Staffy and a pit mix. It doesn't, because it's been bred with so many different other breeds. People will tell you, a purist will tell you, when you breed one breed with another, you create a mutt. Well, you also create other breeds by mixing from other breeds. This is how breeds come about. All right. So how do you get an Old English Bulldog? You grab a Mastiff and you inbreed the hell out of him until his tail is about yay big, its head, and all the proportions get nice and small and everything shrivels up. That's how you get an Old English Bulldog. And that's not the only way, obviously, to start other breeds as well. For example, Dobermans. I could be wrong, but I believe I read somewhere they had crossed Rotties with Greyhounds. That's how you get Adobe. I could be
That makes
wrong.
a lot of sense. It looks like it.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but nonetheless, it was Roddy with something that was meant to run and give it longer legs, limbs.
The markings are there.
Yeah. So I knew that coming into the American Bully because I started seeing different attributes. I would see a dog that was more masculine. I would see a dog that was more pitty. I would see a dog that was starting to get more bully. When I came across Razor's Edge and also Remy,
yeah.
I'll never forget, man, those two came into my head because I started figuring out these are the prototypes that the ABKC is behind right now.
Right.
And they're trying to make this bigger. I quickly realized breeders, the way they're going to make it bigger is you need to cross this with something else in order to make it bigger. Now, again, you're going to have people in this community that even to this day are going to be saying, why it is that we brought in, from different breeds of everything started out with a pit and a Staffy. So I've tried to watch several videos on Dave Wilson, because obviously he is the founder of the breed, and I kind of wanted to see what he had to say. In one video, in one instance, I remember him saying, and I want to say this video was somewhere around 2014. He says something to the extent of, when a new breed comes about, it goes through a process of evolution, and our breed has evolved. You cannot tell me. You could go to the ABKC, whoever's got the most points, the greatest grand champion, whatever the prototypical dog. In fact, that new cartoon, the new drawing of what an American Bully should look like, looks absolutely nothing like Juan Gotti.
Right.
Just doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, we know Gray Line, we know everything came from there, and that's how it started. But there has been an evolution, which also brings up. I was kind of a purist there for a while as well. I was like, well, at the time it was red nose, blue nose, right? The whole pit mentality was in, and I want to say around 2014 ish again, I saw my first try, and I was like, that looks awesome, but that's not the pure form, right? So I'm not somebody that immediately jumps into something. Takes me a while for it to come through and kind of sink in. I quickly realized that in my opinion, the ABKC was allowing tries to come in because it totally was giving a different aspect, and it was also evolutionary process within the breed. I remember when I first was looking at bullies, blue was a big thing. Once the tries were established, I would say by around 2017, 2018, they were like the in thing, for that matter. And then I saw my first Merle somewhere around that time. And again, I'm not one to jump right in. And I started seeing that Merles were being bred, and honestly, the first version of Merles that I saw really turned me off, man. They really did. I could also tell you, to my surprise, because let me rewind a little bit. Just because I didn't like Merles did not mean that I wouldn't research it and try to find out the components of it. So as I was finding out the components, I remember I went into this one group and people were DNA testing their dogs, and they were OFA testing, and they were doing all this. And I had a conversation with someone. I don't recall who they are now, but I was telling them, why would you want to buy a dog that you have to go through all this process? That they educated me. They were like, all dogs should be health tested. All dogs. What do you think? Merles are the only ones that are walking around with ataxia or CRD4 or whatever? No. Those blue dogs you're talking about, two-tones and two-tone reds, they have it too. And so that a little bell kind of went off in my head, and I was like, they're right. And so I started testing my dogs about maybe a year later, when Embark became a little bit more, I don't want to say feasible, but Embark has also evolved, and it just became so much easier. $150, you send a little swab in, boom, 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 in 6 weeks you have a result. Then I started doing that, and I started educating myself with my own yard. Right. So I was also evolving as a breeder. I started breeding in 2016, right? Early 2016. So by 2017, 2018, we started going through this process. And I want to say about 18 months ago, I came to the realization that the strongest registry that this particular breed is being represented by, which is the ABKC, decided to allow Merles in that you can register, blotched or Merle, but you're not supposed to put them in the ring, because in the ring it would be considered a disqualification, right? So it's not going to work. But it doesn't take a genius to figure it out, bro, that this is how they inch forward little by little to get to the point where, Merles are going to be allowed in. I started getting hit several times by people buying dogs off of me. And they were breeding to Merles and creating these beautiful dogs and calling it QBN Merles. And so I was like, whoa, we need to put brakes on that. If there's going to be QBN on anything, it's going to be us, for obvious business reasons.
Right.
I'm very transparent. I don't sit here and try to sugarcoat it. I tell you straight up what it is. I also realized that the Merle community, whether it was through a stigma or through their own conviction, was health testing more. I would even dare to say, man, they were just more on top of things, whereas the two-tone community or even tri-community, health testing, like the percentage, if I was going to put a percentage on just two-tones and tries, I would say less than 5% were health testing at the time. And if you look at the Merle population, I would say around 50% is health testing. And why do I know? Because in those particular groups at the time, Facebook was letting people sell dogs. Remember back then? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Talking about 2.5, 3 years ago. So they would go ahead and put on there, the dog is Embark clear, he's OFA tested, blah, 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 and it's so much for the puppies. So every other, when you're flipping through Facebook in that group, every other post was telling you that, they were Embark clear, and they would have the link on there, and you click on there and you go into their Embark, and you could also see their pedigree and all that good stuff. So I started realizing that, even though these people are being shunned by the community because, they're not pure. Well, that try you got sitting in your living room, he ain't pure either. Right? At one point, he wasn't thought of as being pure either. So, I came to the conclusion, not just from a breeding standpoint, but also from a business standpoint, that I would go ahead and breed Merles. And when I did that, I came out and made a video, spoke on it. a lot of people decided that, I guess I was no longer a role model to be looked up on, which is fine. I never asked to be a role model to begin with. I do have my platform. I speak my truth. I share with you what I know. If you want to take it, you can. If you don't, you can walk away from it. It's as simple as that. But nonetheless, I decided to breed Merles, and pretty soon we're going to start producing them.
Nice. So those, you said, what was it, 2016? You got your first American Bully, or your first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, late 2015, I got 2 females, and I bought them just because I just wanted to see what the temperament of the dogs were.
Yeah.
But they were not going to be breed quality, man.
Yeah, so that's the point I was getting to, because when I was riding with you that day, and I don't think I put it in the video, and I should have, you told me something that was really important, man. And maybe I did put in the video, I'm not sure.
Okay.
We put out so many videos, it's hard to
remember.
Yeah. So, but I thought it was really important, and I want viewers to really key in on this. You told me that you purchased, I forgot, it was somewhere in the range of like above $20,000 worth of dogs.
Yes, that came right after those 2 females.
Yeah, and still, even though you spent this large amount of money, a lot of those dogs, you never bred those dogs.
Well, in reality, if you might have recalled the wrong amount, it was actually 40,000.
40,000 dogs.
It was a total of 8 dogs, and it was about $40,000. There were several of them that just weren't of breed quality. Now, before I bought the dogs and I got into all that, I actually had someone that was a mentor of mine. And we started talking, and he knows about bullies, or I felt he did. He had produced like 3 or 4 grand champions in the UKC. He was a UKC judge himself. He was trying to get into the AKC as well, with other breeds. And so I felt there was somebody that, he had no skin in my game, but yet we could speak and he could help me out. So I would show him dogs, and, I created a plan. And the plan was I wanted to start out with 5 females and 3 males. Okay. And that's where the number 8 comes up, and, the total of eight dogs. And I ran them by him, and, he gave me the thumbs up on these particular 8. So we bought them. After we bought them, yes, aside from the 2 previous ones, there were 2 that they just developed later on. They started developing East-West. One had real bad East-West and had cowhawks. The cowhawks never left the dog by the time it was 12 months, and the East-West was never correcting. We still, even though I didn't breed him, obviously, I kept my eyes on him because I wanted to see him pop and mature and see if the chest would come in so it could correct East-West. Just never happened. And so, we moved on. And that's to my opinion now, looking back, I couldn't have done any better. Being objective is the number one thing that every breeder should have. The moment you're not objective, if the money you pay for the dog clouds your judgment, if how much you love the dog clouds your judgment, you don't need to be breeding, because you're going to be producing dogs that got cowhawks and East-West. They're great for you, but they're really not improving the breed.
Yeah, that's pretty much the answer I was looking for, because I've been speaking to a lot of veteran breeders, and they just say the same thing, man. Like it's turned into something that's you have videos out there that, and you break down how you can make money from breeding these dogs.
Yes.
But also you have to do it the right way. Like you're saying, sometimes you're going to take a loss, and I think some people get so invested in the dog that they purchase that they're not willing to take that loss.
Well, if you allow me, and I don't want to use your platform to promote one of my platform, a video on my platform, but I do have a video that says show versus pet. When you get a chance, go to Qbn, scroll all the way through until you see show versus pet. In that particular video, my keeper, the number 1 puppy there, I kept her, and she just developed an underbite. She had real bad East-West. It wasn't going to happen. I ended up moving away from her. But the reason I suggest people check that video out is so that you can see what it is that a breeder's looking for. And when it's not there, irregardless if it's your keeper, irregardless if it's the first dog you started with, whatever the case may be, if there are two or more major flaws, you need to move away from it. At least that's my opinion. That's how I've always done it.
Yeah. And so, what was your next step after you spent all this money? You seen the dogs weren't exactly what you wanted. Like, what did you think
I
to yourself? What did you tell your wife? What were you guys thinking? What was the
well,
plan after that?
well, man, I have always said on my platform that if you want to be successful, if you're married and you're a breeder, your wife or your significant other, the other way around, has to be 100% on board. You got to realize at the time I was a nurse, and my wife, she's in the medical field as well. And so there were days that I wouldn't get home till 11 o'clock at night. It just worked out that way. Now, my daughter would let the dogs out. I gave her permission to take each dog out one at a time so they could pee and poop and do everything. But that I would, as soon as I get home, no matter what the time was, I would clean all the pens, all the kennels and everything. And so you need that partnership. I had my daughter, I had my wife. There were days my wife would get here at 7 p.m. and I wasn't going to get here till 10. She would go in there and do it. And so the next step was nothing more than learning how to analyze dogs' temperament, learning pack mentality. The first 2.5, 3 years, pack mentality was a big thing in my yard. Why? Because I never had a pack in my life. I always had 1, 2 dogs. You could say 2 dogs creates a pack. I could tell you my inside dogs behave totally different than my dogs in my kennel area. The way that they respond to things. I could tell you my house dogs, they go outside, they see a squirrel, no biggie. A squirrel will not even dare run from one tree to the next when my pack is out. And it isn't because they become more aggressive or anything like that. It's just that they realize that there's strength in numbers. They realize it. Their behaviors totally change. How I know this? Because when I grab one of my dogs and I take them to the vet, the behavior totally changes. The moment the vet tech takes the dog with a leash and they leave walking, the behavior is totally different. The confidence level comes down, the tail comes down. They're more, recently my female Latessa, she's no longer in the yard, but when she was, Latessa was always an alpha, always the most confident, tail sky high. You take her over to the vet, tail was down, head was down. Recently, the gentleman that's keeping her, is telling me that she's cuddling with another dog to sleep. It never happened here. It never happened here for that long. She was the alpha. She was running things. You see what I'm saying? But she left my pack as an individual dog and entered an established pack in his home. Guess what? The dynamic is different. So things changed over there on his end. Yeah. Amongst the dogs that I have purchased, Fireball was one of the ones that I went ahead and bought. And it was, in my opinion, you could call it a stroke of luck. You could call it the best decision I ever made. Because once the main dog that I wanted to use as a stud was not producing up to the standard that I was trying to set for myself, I went ahead and used Fireball. And like they say, it was history from that point on. He was just, every time he would go into a female, he would just knock it out the park. We were getting correct proportions. We were getting, faults that may have been there with the females. He was correcting. It was a quite phenomenal thing to see his productions versus what we produced with our other male when we first started. Fireball is a classic. He's 17 and a half inches at withers. He's weighed 72 pounds ever since he was, 2 years old. That's where it stopped. And I got a lot of flack by the community because I was breeding this classic to XXL and XL females at the time. But I wouldn't have it any other way. This boy was correcting everything that he was going into.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. When I seen him, I seen he was on the smaller end. Dogs. And like I hadn't seen him in person, so I went to your house and I noticed like,
Right.
okay, he's a little bit smaller, but he's super clean.
Yeah.
And I thought it was genius that you were doing that. And now years later that I've watched what's going on, I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, this dude really had a plan on what he was trying to do. And now I see you slowly bringing in size and just and slowly getting the dogs bigger and bigger, but they don't have the
Correct.
same flaws that the big dogs that were
This is
already out had. So that
this.
was a dope move on your part, man. So, you know,
Yeah.
that I mean, just to have a plan and do all that research is dope.
Well, that is correct. I appreciate you bringing that up, man, and thank you for realizing it as well. Remember, I told you I had a mentor when I first started out, and when I was talking to him, I was mostly talking to him about the faults that I was finding. This guy, he's a nurse as well, so we were talking dog anatomy. We were
Yeah.
talking femurs. We were talking phalange. I mean, we were talking every and anything that you can imagine as far as dog anatomy was concerned. We were breaking it down, and so we were finding culprits as to why East West was so prominent. I'll give you an example. Um, I could tell you East West was more prominent, at least to my memory, back in 2016 than say what I'm seeing now. Back then, everything was East West, bro. And I don't mean just East West. I'm talking about like Charlie Chaplin type of East
Yeah.
West.
Yeah.
And part of the problem was the nutrition. You had these people back then, and I know it's popular still now, dying, but back then it
Yeah.
was the thing. Yeah, they were feeding that to these pups, man, and
Yeah.
and having them girthy and heavy, and it was a competition as to who had the biggest, heaviest pup at 6 months.
Hmm.
Well, they didn't realize that what they were doing was changing the dog's their structure.
Hmm.
The dog's bones don't seal until they're 18 months old. But even in addition to that, the soft tissue, the ligaments, cartilage, tendons, they just couldn't keep up with how fast the bones were growing. And in addition, the weight that was being added.
Yeah.
And so we identified that. And that's when we started realizing the longer the bone, the more chances you have of it being East-West. And also the nutritional component that goes with it was causing this. And so I was like, okay, here I have an XXL female, here I have a classic. What other dog in my yard is going to be able to shorten that bone and bring it to its correct proportion? Mind you, I'm not trying to produce dogs that are 24, 25, 26 inches at withers. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to produce dogs that are between 20 and 23 at the time. Ever since then, I've changed my stance. I'm more a 20 to 22, maybe 22 and a half at most, what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why we went into Fireball as well. He was shortening everything just enough to where they were still XL, but the bone wasn't getting any longer.
Right.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense because the longer the bone, the more torque you're going to have at the very end. And so anything, if you're off 1 millimeter all the way up here, it's going to identify itself as half an inch by the time you get to the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making myself clear with that, but that's what we were working on at the time. And yeah, Fireball was correcting that very well.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I've learned a lot watching your videos, man. So, keep that going for sure. But back to your next moves. You got Fireball. I seen Latessa when I was there, Power, and now I've seen that Merle Congo, right?
Yeah, Congo. He's
All
our
that going. So
Yeah.
right now, currently, you're what, like almost 10 years into it?
us. We're going to 7 years.
7 years.
If you want to count when I bought my first bully, even though I didn't breed them, then yeah, you're
Yeah,
gonna
I mean,
see 7.5.
I would count it because I mean, basically, you were in a learning process. Whether you were breeding the dogs or
enough.
not, you were still, you own the dogs, you're learning the breed. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of what's going on today.
Unfortunately, bro, when people come into the bully world, you notice that they're into the money, man.
Yeah.
And you'll notice it more than anything in the language. And, I've had some people kind of criticize me for what I'm about to say, but honestly, I don't care.
Yeah.
If you consider the bully world or the bully community as a bully game, you're using that language. This is just
Yeah.
a game.
Yeah.
To me, you're just looking at it like a hustle.
Hmm.
Which is how a lot of people refer to it. This is my side hustle.
Yeah.
To me, is an insult, and I'm sure to other breeders that this isn't a hustle and that are taking this seriously. For us, is kind of like an insult because you're not giving it kind of like the importance that it should have. For you, it's just produce the pups and sell them. Whereas for us, is we know we're going to eventually get there,
Right.
but let's try to improve what is here now. Whether through education, genetics, whatever. And so when you see somebody just talking about it just as a hustle, it kind of seems like it's not a priority.
Well, I think it's being put out there as that, and I think you mentioned it earlier. It's like, guys will they'll convince you that that's what it is. You buy this dog for this amount of money, you buy that dog for amount of money, and then hey, you're gonna be able to flip these puppies for this amount of money. And so I think it's how it's being put out there. But I've spoken to a lot of breeders that are I don't know if I should say at the top of the game, but they got champion dogs now, and they're getting the attention that they deserve because they put in the work, they put in the time. But what they tell me is that they never did it for money.
Yeah.
The reason they never did it for money is because they kept whole litters. They never even sold puppies off of litters just because they were looking for a certain dog and they couldn't tell
Correct.
what that dog was going to be till they were, at a certain age or whatever. So I think people are missing that. And that's how come I want to put out these interviews so that people can actually see that aspect of it, because they only look at the end result. Oh, this guy's on top. I want to be that guy. He has that dog. I'm going to buy a puppy from him and I'm going to do the same thing.
Here's the thing, Dustin. Here's the thing, man. And you and I, we've had a relationship now for about a year and a half or so. The problem is this: the majority of the people that come into dog breeding come into it as looking at it as a monetary windfall, okay, or a way to supplement their income. Or sometimes that's the way they got it presented to the significant other in order to kind of get them on board as well.
Right.
And you see, the problem you have is when it's about money or money is the main focus, it clouds the purity of breeding. So I'll give you case in point. If you are genetically testing dogs, for example, in my yard, if a dog comes up and it has something, I don't know, something going on with his heart as far as genetics is concerned, that dog is going to get spayed, neutered, will be pet homed, and we will let the people know what the dog has. If it's something where it's going to affect the dog's quality of life, we're going to put that dog down. Whereas if it's all about the money, first of all, you're probably not going to want to do an embark because you don't want to know what's there. But even if you did, for whatever reason, know or had done the embark, you're going to keep that hush because you got to sell it so you can make the bag. This is the language I hear a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so that is part of the problem, not just with our breed. It goes across the board, no matter what breed it is. It's all about the money. And so you get people that come into the community, and yes, you're going to have a breeder that's going to tell them, hey, man, you breed this and breed that, and you're going to make so much in this. And that person buying is going to make you think, and I get this because they want to consult with me after the fact. They make you think that they were suckered into it. But no, they weren't suckered. They sold themselves the dream. Okay, they came in wanting to hear that. The other person just said what you wanted to hear. But you already sold yourself that dream. It was always about the money. And I get them all the time. They'll come on a consult with me. And they're like, yeah, I bought this dog for $9,000. It turned out to be horrible. Blah, blah, blah. They did all this to me. I'm the victim. Boo, hoo, hoo. No, bro, you ain't the victim. If you didn't do your homework, if you were not on top of your game, don't point the finger at the breeder. Point the finger at yourself. okay? Because it was your intentions that got you in trouble. And now you have a $9,000 pet in your hand, or a dog that you might have to cull because its quality of life is going to be, you know, not good. And so that's what happens a lot is they sucker themselves in. Breeders that are out here, some of them are financial predators. They're going to take advantage of you. They'll tell you what you want to hear, take advantage of you. Then you're now 10 grand in the hole, and now you decided you want to see the light. And you give me a call and a consult, and you think you're telling me everything I want to hear, because that's exactly what they told you. Oh, I'm all about the breed and the love and blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. You came in here, you know, you saw the dog. Within a month, you were putting $9,000 down because you were sold this pipe dream. You sold this pipe dream to yourself. Now you're in a hole. Now you want to come talk to me to see if you could get better dogs so you could come back and get that money. And, you know, I've never sat here and, you know, judged anyone or try to point the finger. This is a business. I don't care who you are. If you're selling a dog, even if it's for $1, you know, this is a business. I don't want to hear, oh, this dude's only in it for the money, or this dude, bro, we're all here. At the end of the day, it is a business. Okay. My yard needs to produce enough for itself. Okay. For us to be able to make decisions as to how much time I'm going to allot to the yard, if it's producing or if it's not. Okay. And this is just realistic across the board. Right now, the country's going into a recession, and I've seen people, you know, buying Origin at $108, $110, $112 a bag. If you had an entire yard, you would have to make decisions, irregardless, that you can't be buying a $110 bag that's only going to last you 2 weeks or a week, for that matter. It's just not going to happen. It's realistic.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to sound like, you know, we don't sell dogs. We sell dogs. I'm the first person that says we sell dogs. And I'm the first person that says that this is a business. Yeah. And we live in the most capitalistic society on earth. And you can definitely do good by something, even though it is a business. How? You reinvest. My apologies, man. My phone's just going crazy. You reinvest like we do. We reinvest our monies back into our yard. You know, we put it back in. Whereas you got people that will sell an entire litter, and then after all that was done, and they got paid or whatever, the facilities are the same for the last 5 years. Zero improvement. The dog nearly is tied to a tree with a chain around his neck or something. Who knows? And again, I'm not out here trying to point the finger at people, but all I'm saying is, if you want to establish something that's going to last, you have to not only focus on money, because if you solely focus on money, when it's time to breed dog A to dog B, you're just going to breed it for the money, not realizing that dog C is a better option. You see what I'm saying? But dog B is a Merle. Yeah, but dog C is better structured. But dog B is a Merle, and I'm going to make more money, so we're going to head in this direction. You see what I'm talking about? So that's the main culprit behind breeds taking a step back. We're a newer breed, but there's many other breeds out there that have been German Shepherds, even Rotties. I have friends that are in those communities. We talk all the time, and the things that I hear and how I've seen how the dog's body has morphed in the last 30, 40 years for the sake of the dollar. It's it raises eyebrows, man.
So what do you, I know you make videos on how to make money off of your dogs, as far as like maybe just owning a stud or starting your program with females, which I think is good. I hope a lot of people are watching those videos before they decide to even start a breeding program. But in your perspective, if somebody wanted to start a business, do you think this is an ideal business to start? Without really loving the dog? Like
No. If you listen, each dynamic is different. To be a dog breeder, you got to have a certain dynamic. What do I mean by a dynamic? I mean this. If you come into dog breeding and you're living paycheck to paycheck, this is not gonna be a fun ride for you. It's just not gonna happen, especially now. Especially now that the country is experiencing inflation, somewhat of a recession. A lot of people that were buying pups within this last year are now calling me up and hanging it up because or even 2 years ago, I just had somebody that had an entire litter, 8 pups, not able to sell one.
Wow.
Right. So this is what I mean about a dynamic. A year, 15 months ago, I had a litter called Stonehenge, which was my first Merle litter. We had a total of 7 pups. 2 pups I knew right off the top were not going to stay, and I went ahead and moved them. Okay. The remainder of them, which were 5 of them, if you guys are following me or if you've seen anything as far as my platform, you're going to realize that they stayed here, I want to say for up to 8 months. Like you were just saying recently, there's breeders that got to hold the dog for an extended amount of time to be able to see what's there before they make a decision. And I went ahead and did that. If I had a litter of 8 puppies and they didn't sell, I'm not gonna sit here and be crying or anything like that. But I have a place to have them.
Yeah.
They're gonna eat and they're gonna have shelter and they're gonna have a heater at night or if it's cold, or an AC if it's hot. It's gonna happen. And so this is what I try to tell people. This is not a get rich fast scheme. If you don't love the dogs, man, you got to clean up dog shit, man, every day. And if you don't enjoy it, it's gonna be quite an uphill battle for you. As far as me, I enjoy. I've said this on my lives, and people are probably gonna look me crazy, but I enjoy picking up shit.
I've heard you say that. I've heard you say it.
I enjoy it because when I'm doing it, and I release my dogs outside of the kennel so they can run, play, whatever, I'm observing their behavior while I'm cleaning the shit. I'm also looking at the shit because the shit's telling me a lot of things. Okay, shit's telling me a lot. It tells me, first of all, if my dogs are having any type of parasites. It's telling me even if one of my females is pregnant. Huh? Yeah, bro. It can tell you that as well. Okay. It tells you so many things of what's going on with your dog. You're cleaning shit and all of a sudden you see a wad of grass. Okay, so I know this girl's having something's going on with the upset stomach. Did I make any type of dietary changes recently? Did we switch from raw to kibble? Okay, so she's lacking a little bit of fiber. Okay, no biggie. I'll just start adding, maybe some carrots or sweet potatoes into the kibble. That way they get enough fiber. She doesn't have to be, going through this. But yeah, this is one of those things that I feel you need to be completely 100% on board. If you feel it's one of those things, you just have a dog in the yard and you just bring them out or bring the 2 out when it's time to breed and that's it. I think, especially now that money's tight, inflation is up and credit ratings have gone up. What that means is money's about to get tighter. And so people are going to demand more. That's what customers are going to do when money's tight.
It seems like every person that buys a puppy now, like a week later, you see them. Now they got a kennel name. They got a Instagram page which is cool. I get it, but do you think it's getting like oversaturated? Like Instagram, like I get on Instagram I can't even distinguish what dog from what dog. I just see so many dogs. I just get off of Instagram because I can't even keep track. Like I know my main people that I follow and I want to see their dog, but golly, bro, it's just so much. Like what? Everybody
wants to be recognized and establish themselves immediately. And I don't recall when I had a conversation. It could have been on my live or just a conversation straight up. If you don't have at least, I'm going to use the term loosely. If you don't have at least 6 dogs, you're not a kennel.
Right.
In fact, I would raise that to 8, somewhere around there. Right. If you got 2 dogs in your yard, you're not a kennel. You got 3 dogs, you're not a kennel. It's just, and I'm not trying to downplay you or bring you down. You're just not there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're just not there. Recently, I had a guy who wanted to consult me because he wants to breed. He's talking about buying one of my females. He lives in an apartment. Already has an XL in the apartment. Like, no, bro, I'm not gonna sell you, dog. You crazy?
Yeah.
Like, what? Are you crazy? What's going to end up happening is you're going to kick you out of that apartment.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to know where. If they don't want to buy the puppies, then all hell's going to break loose. You're not going to know where to put my female.
How would you have puppies in an apartment anyway?
Bro, you'd be
You know what I mean?
surprised.
And like I think it was like my second or third YouTube video that I dropped, and it was just a video about me like cleaning up my kennels.
Right.
I called it the morning routine, and
Okay.
I just went through the little process of waking up and cleaning my kennels and stuff. But one of the points I tried to make in that video, and that I wanted to show people, was that, like you said, the dynamic. You got to have a setup. And I knew that from breeding pit bulls before. When I was in my 20s, I didn't have the correct setup, and my dogs would get loose, and I would be getting them from here and there,
Yeah.
and then something bad ended up. Yeah, some bad. And so in that video, I wanted to not only show the little morning routine and make some content, but I wanted to show how I spent the money to actually set up something for my dogs. So currently, right now, I don't never worry about the weather, because my dogs are fine no matter what the weather is.
Right.
And
You
so
got
like
the facilities for it.
yeah, and I know my dogs can't get loose, and I know no one can come steal my dogs. And so I think that's a thing that people don't realize till after they get the dog. Like, oh shit, where am I gonna keep them?
That's really important. Let me tell you, Dustin, I kind of feel that the first thought in a lot of people's mind is, hey, look, this is an American bully. All right. Oh yeah, how much you pay for it? $5,000. $5,000? You crazy? You're out your mind. Yeah, but I have a female, and when he breeds to her, even if we sell 10 puppies at $3,000 a piece, it's gonna be $30,000.
Yeah.
Now that dude that was criticizing him, guess what? He's gonna go to bed thinking, dude, this cat's gonna be making $30,000 twice a year. That's $60,000. That's $5,000 a month. That's more money than I'm making right now.
Yeah.
And that's usually, and again, bro, I'm not trying to criticize anybody for dreaming, and you could definitely get there.
Yeah.
But there's a way to get there. You gotta be cognizant of what your facilities are. You gotta be cognizant of where you are. Let me give you a perfect example. And people are not gonna believe this, but and I'm gonna go ahead and drop it on here because I think what he did was amazing. Naheem, he's the other person I was bringing on my shows along with you and others. When Naheem made it all the way here from Delaware, we sat down and we were having a conversation, and obviously he was already buying a female. What Naheem didn't know was that, man, I felt so comfortable with him at the time. I was like, it was hard for me to let go of a female that I had. Her name is Chanel, but I had to move away from her. And I gave Naheem the option of taking her with him. Zero cost, zero. And don't take it from me. You could ask Naheem himself. Let me tell you something, bro. Naheem looked at me square in the eye. He said, bro, I appreciate you. I really thank you. But right now I live in an apartment and I can't have her. And to me, bro, like I told him at that moment, I said, bro, I know you're not there yet, but you got a breeder mindset. You're a breeder.
Yeah.
That's the way you go. You got to be cognizant of the facilities you got and what it is that you can give. Don't overextend yourself. If you stay within your lane, you're going to slowly raise your own bar, and eventually you'll be able to move out, buy your own house, blah, 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 have more dogs. But to have 2 dogs in an apartment, it would have been a disaster. We probably would have ended up at odds, because I would have definitely gone to him and been like, dude, why didn't you tell me you were living in an apartment? I would have never put a second female in your hands. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, nowadays they buy a dog. They're sold the dream that they want to be sold, and they call themselves something, and that's it. We're here and we're there. And then they go into the crab game. They go into the crab game. And what I call the crab game is, you ever seen crabs in a bucket?
Yeah, they just pulling each other back in, man.
You ever seen one crab trying to crawl out and
never gonna get out?
Here's the thing, bro, and I just dropped a post on Facebook, and it's so true. I just thought about it and wrote it. And I said, a lot of the crabs that are inside that bucket do not understand that in order to get outside of the bucket, you just got to think outside of the bucket, not necessarily grab onto the next crab. All right. And what it turns out is people get into it with the wrong intentions. They get into it without having the facilities. And then they have a litter, say like right about now where times are a little bit tighter, and they can't sell their litter. Then they immediately turn their attention on somebody that is doing better. And the envy and the jealousy and the hate starts kicking in.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, if you're hating and you're envious and you're doing all these things, bro, the same God that is blessing them is the same God that's going to bless you.
Yeah.
You're going to go at night, you're going to pray to get blessed after you hated on somebody, envied, and you were jealous. Bro, I'm not the most biblical or religious person, bro, but if God is their father, he's your father too. Do you think you're going to get a blessing? Right. The faster you realize and you come to the conclusion that you got to do things correctly in order to be able to get to where you want to, it's going to actually be the first step in the right direction in you receiving your blessing, rather than putting your attention on hating and being jealous of someone else.
I don't get it, man. I really don't. I don't. But I remember you told me, man, like, because I kept thanking you for doing the first interviews with me, and you told me that almost the same exact words was like, hey, look, man, like, I like what you're doing. I respect what you're doing. I like the way you carry yourself. And I just want to help somebody, because if I help them and I see them flourishing, I feel like it's,
it returns.
It just comes back to me, man. It's just karma. It's just how things work. You know what I'm saying? So I try to do the same thing, man. Like, anybody I could help, I help them, man. Like, if I see, like, I speak to you, you have a huge platform. And then I speak to people that don't have a huge platform. Like, I want to give everybody a chance as long as they're doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not just going after big names and just trying to help those people. So back to what we were talking about, you introduced your dogs to the world. Everything's taken off for you, man. I really admire what you're doing as far as like creating a very clean XL, because a lot of the XLs that you've seen, they had some of the flaws that we've spoken about before.
I felt that the smaller dog cleans up. I mean, it's no secret that standards and classics can clean up an XL and still produce an XL, right?
Yeah.
Not the whole litter is going to be XL, but could produce some clean XLs. So my goal was definitely clean up, dogs walking around like Charlie Chaplin or like, looking like seals or whatever.
Yeah.
I wanted to clean that up.
Cool. So for new breeders and people that are possibly thinking about breeding, or people that are a couple years into it, can you give us give them 3 keys to success? You think 3 things that'll help them be successful as far as breeding?
Bro, I'm gonna give you 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you 2, and I think you could apply it to anything in life.
Okay.
Stay in your lane, raise your own bar. It's as simple as that.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
be looking at what God's blessing is for anybody else and be jealous. So forget all that, bro. Stay in your lane, raise your own bar. If you've been in this dog breeding, if you're getting into it, or you've been doing dog breeding, say for a year or 2, you should feel that by the 2nd year, for example, you're substantially better than the previous year. If not, you need to get on eBay or something and maybe order a canine genetics book or canine behavioral temperament book. I mean, I don't care how you do it, or, you should be improving yourself. So that's it. Stay in your lane, raise your own bar. If you do that, no matter what you're doing in life, you're always going to end up in a better place.
Definitely. And so, what's the plans for QBNK, man? I know you got all kinds of stuff going on over there. I know a lot of people follow your channel anyway, but if they don't, like, what can they expect from you in the future?
Man, we're coming up on our 4th generation. Some people say 4th generation is a bloodline. I don't believe it. I say 6 and more. But we're just really excited that we're coming out of our 3rd generation and coming into our 4th. Also, like I mentioned earlier, our boy Congo is going to start producing. He's our Merle, our resident Merle. and we're excited about him. We're not just breeding him because he's Merle and we're out for the money. Is the money there? Absolutely. Are we okay getting it? Absolutely. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm all pious or whatever. My point is, if you look at the boy structure and you see what the boy's bringing, you're going to realize there's more to it than just him being Merle.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
We're excited, bro.
Yeah, I'm excited for you, man. I've been following all this stuff. I've met some of your dogs and, met your family, great people. It's been great knowing you. I've just learned a lot just talking to you, and you've helped me out a lot. So if any time I could do anything for you, just let me know. But also I noticed that there's been a lot of like people trying to use your name for scamming.
Yeah. It's really really kicked up, man. I want to say in the last 3 months there's been at least 3 different scamming attempts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's going to happen to everybody
Right.
at one point. 2 of them were here in the U.S. One other one, we have one male that we sent to the UK. He's in England, in Sussex, England, and a gentleman by the name of Dinder Singh is the owner. And out of the blue, some dude came in trying to join him and trying to create QBNK UK. And that's all great, except I was not aware that there was such a thing or anything like that. So at the end of the day, I was talking with Dinder, and this other guy is trying to make it seem like we got to go through him to get to Dinder. And I'm like, hey, this dude's trying to be the middleman, bro. So we kind of cut him out. But yeah, whenever there's money and there's success, you're always going to have a parasite that's going to pop his ugly head out.
Yeah. So if anybody wants a official update or purchasing a pup from QBNK, they gotta go through the app, correct?
Absolutely, bro. And here it is.
Yes,
QBN app. All you gotta do is click on that. And once you do, let me go back. Yeah, once you do, you're gonna get to the main page. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, it says contact us. You click on that, right? And it's gonna say text or consult. If you want to text me directly, it goes straight to my phone, man. Ooh.
Nice. And so we're just putting it out there right now. There's no other way to buy a puppy from Raul unless you use the app, guys. So go through the app. If anybody's trying to sell you anything with QBNK name on it, it's not official unless you're going through the app.
Absolutely. And you're going to be talking to me directly. Nobody else answers the app but me.
Yes, sir. Definitely. And then one more question. What was the title of the video that you did with Fred?
I've changed the title a couple of times.
Okay.
I believe that right now, in fact, let me just bring it up here, man. The last one I put on there is Grand Champion. Hold on.
What was the first one you put? Was it the best bully in the world or something like that?
Yeah, the best American bully in the world.
So
absolutely.
Do you believe that?
Look, man, I think he's in the conversation. We asked that question. I asked Fred, do you feel that your dog is the best in the world? Mm-hmm. And he's a very humble guy.
Very humble.
And he's like very down to earth. And he's like, if he's not, he's in the conversation. And I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Let me tell you, I flew to California. I saw Dooley myself. Put my hands on the dog. The dog's the real deal, bro.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah, I cannot wait to use him in our yard. Right now, I'm kind of hoping that we're able to do it. You got to realize that we get sperm being shipped from California. And unfortunately, when you're getting sperm being shipped in, Sundays and Mondays are usually not the best days for your female to be ready, because the last day he can ship is Friday, I believe. And if he ships on Monday, it doesn't get here till Tuesday. So we got our fingers crossed. But if it isn't this time, we'll use him another time. We got plenty of females for that boy to go into. But I can't say enough good things about Dooley and Fred himself.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. He's one of those guys that did everything the right way, and it took him a while to get there. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. He's a model for us to follow. That's another reason why, I packed my bags and flew to California. If you haven't watched the interview, if all else, if you're brand spanking new, if you've been in the community for a while, listen to Fred, man. Fred, I told him to his face, I said, bro, you're like the unofficial godfather. Yeah.
of the American Bully. And he laughed it off, but I truly believe it, man, because he definitely is a model to be followed.
Yeah, for sure, man. I spoke to him not too long ago, and I met him in Vegas about a year ago, and man, we just chopped it up. Man, really humble guy, man. Just I'm happy for him because he deserves all this stuff that he's getting now.
He's worked hard with it. His dog has worked hard with it. You know, every now and then, I'll give him a call or whatever. You could always tell when you're talking to someone on the phone on the other end if they got a smile on their face or not. For some reason, it comes through the line. And I met him in person, and he's the real deal. So nothing but props for this guy.
For sure, for sure. Well, I'm gonna let you go, man. I know you got tons of stuff to do. You probably got videos to edit, dogs to clean up after, all kinds of stuff. But congratulations, man. I'm looking at your YouTube channel right now. 98,000 subscribers, bro. That's amazing, man. Congratulations.
Right there, man.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, I spoke to you about the YouTube before and how you started it and things and why you started it, but man, to see it grow like that, because it's grown a lot just in this past year, bro. It's exploded. So congratulations on that. I hope to be there one day. I'm just gonna grind it out, see what happens. I'm not jealous. I'm happy for you.
No, bro. I know you're not. I never got that from you, bro.
Yeah.
You already know, man. If you're ever in town, you're more than welcome. We'll chop it up. We could talk as YouTubers. We could talk as breeders. And
Yes,
who
sir.
knows, man? Maybe we could have a collaboration or something in the future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I appreciate it, man. And for all the viewers, don't forget to download the Qbn app and follow this man on YouTube. If you need to know anything, this is the guy to turn to. Got all the videos. And man, I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, brother. I appreciate the interview, man. To all you people out there, thank you so much for listening.
Yes, sir. All right, man. I'll get with you soon.
All right, my brother. You
All
have
right,
yourself a good one.
All right, you too, bro. Later.
Thank you.